This time on Loving Cars, we look at how reliable the Toyota Tazz is and whether you should or not consider buying it. That is next on Loving Cars. Hey, my name is Edwin, and this is Loving Cars. Today on Loving Cars, we look at the Toyota Tazz. How reliable is it? Its common fault and its features, and whether you should consider spending money into it. Thank you very much for watching this video, and thank you for subscribing. So let's get down into business. The Toyota Tazz was originally labeled as the Toyota Conquest, and the entry-level model first appeared in 1996. It was very low-spec'd and only available in a 4-speed manual transmission. However, in 1999, a special sports edition 5-speed twin tip exhaust was actually introduced in the market, and another facelift took place in 2000. Today, we are actually reviewing the 1999 5-speed sports edition. This was one of the sports and limited edition Toyota Tazz has ever produced. It was very popular and reliable car that contained 1,300 cc. In other words, a 1.3 liter engine that was later changed into a 1.3 liter producing 55 kilowatts of power. They later did produce a 1.6 liter producing 79 kilowatts of power later on during the day. These are one of South Africa's top reliable cars, and the engines will last you decades if you take care of them. Many of the Tazz owners in South Africa today will rather not sell this particular car, which is why they sell like cakes, and finding a well taken care of is actually one of the luckiest things you can ever get. The last Toyota Tazz was produced in 2006, having its name or run from 1986 up to 2006. In 1986, when it was released as the hatchback version of the Toyota Corolla. However, when Volkswagen produced its City Golf in the early 1990s, the Japanese brand realized that they have a tough competition in South Africa. And in order to compete into that very same market, they had to introduce a family small size hatchback that was reliable and fuel efficient. Remember, this is a Japanese Toyota car, and it is one of the unkillable cars that can ever be found in South African roads. With the modern technology and modern cars and modern production of cars the way it is today, it's very hard to find a reliable car like this. For example, this particular car has 256,920 kilometers on the clock. Because it was produced in the 1990s, its technology is pretty dull. I mean, what do you expect? It's a 1999 car. You cannot get any navigation or Apple CarPlay or Android Auto into this car. In 1999, when they released this model, you had to choose between a power steering or an air conditioner. Remember, there's a difference between an air conditioner and a fan. Of course, it had a fan and it had a heater on, but the fan, if you took it on blue, expecting it to blow cold air, it will just blow air coming from the fan, which is in the blower mode of the car, which is practically hot. So in hot, chilly days, summer, you will be sweating in this particular car. So what are some of the faults that you can find or expect to get in the particular or in the Toyota Tazz? Some of the faults that you can get or expect when you are driving a Toyota Tazz is 1, suspension problems. Because most owners who actually buy these cars abuse them and drive them in rural areas, just like this champ right here. It mostly have a problem with the front and rear suspension, because many people who drive them don't usually take care of them. So if you buy one, look at the suspension, go to the front end, try to see if you can bounce it up and down, if the shock absorber is still intact, if the rear link is still intact, if the CV joint are still very good and the axles are still very good. Those are some of the things that actually give people problems when they are owning Toyota Tazz. Number 2 is its engine. If you buy a Toyota Tazz and you buy it as second-hand, obviously you're going to buy it as a second-hand because they don't come new these days. Before driving it for a lot of kilometers, make sure that you change the timing belt, because you don't know the history or how long that particular timing belt is. For example, the champ that actually gave me permission to film his Toyota Tazz today had a terrible experience when it comes to his car with the timing belt, which snapped and bent the piston valves, which ended up making him rebuild the engine. However, because it's a Toyota Tazz and it was popular, and it's so popular in South Africa, finding parts wasn't necessarily that much a problem, and replacement parts are not that much expensive compared to modern cars. So those are some of the problems that you can expect when you're buying a Toyota Tazz. The third one, which is the final one, most common one, is because this car does not use fuel injectors, it uses a carburetor. So most of the time the carburetor will be clogged up. So try to find some carburetor cleaner and find someone who knows what he's doing to clean your carburetor, because sometimes you can find or experience that the car doesn't start well in the morning, and it usually gives you a problem when you're driving by cutting the engine even when you are accelerating at high speed, which is pretty dangerous. So if you're buying or considering buying this car, those are some of the problems that you can actually experience, but they're pretty much easier to replace. Other than that, the door handles are a problem, more especially when you have to get out of the car, the one that is inside the car. Many people who have owned Tazz have spoken or said that their door handles actually usually fail, the one inside, and they are forced to use the one outside to open the door. Sometimes it's the one that is outside that is broken, and you have to use the one inside to open the door. So with age, those type of things are actually expected, but replacing them is pretty much easy. The windows are usually stuck or pretty hard when you're winding them down and up. That can be fixed by simply lubricating the hinges or the edges where the window is actually traveling from. And other than that, you'll get yourself a pretty reliable car.